is a better team, and if we don't win this match, we don't deserve to be in the LCS, so we have to win.
I don't think they should completely underestimate us, and that they should still try their best if they want to win, else they will have a hard time, I guess. They are strong players, strong elite players, but I know that if something goes really wrong, that they can tilt really fast.
It's easier to be an underdog like Misfits. If they lose, it's like, oh, everyone expected us to lose. So we are not only better as a team, but also better as individuals. I think we have better play on every role. So I just don't know how we can lose.
If we have Gabe or Rengar or New Jungle, he's gonna win in the game, no matter what. I want to show how good we are, and we are not that bad, so that's why I want to win the system and show them. We are a very strong player, and we can make it happen.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the European Challenger Series. We're coming to you live from beautiful Berlin as the battle for a spot in the European LCS promotion tournament reaches a crescendo. As you can see, the players were hyped getting ready backstage, and they are setting themselves up and preparing for some incredible League of Legends today. Of course, it's Schalke taking on the Misfits in our first game here. Now, I'm Aaron Medic Chamberlain, and joining me today is James Stress O'Leary on the caster desk. It's going to be an exciting one, James. Some interesting strategies played out from these teams across the split.
Yeah, looking forward to a great series. This is the time where Schalke have to prove everything they talked about in the beginning of our show. You heard Vander say if they don't make it, and Lulek said if they don't win here, they don't make it into LCS, they don't deserve it. They got to go through Misfits, who are going to be a very tough opponent.
That they are. Here's how the team stood after the Challenger Series round robin. Schalke taking first spot pretty convincingly. Paris Saint-Germain, Fnatic Academy and Misfits Academy rounded out those playoffs positions, and then Team Kinguin and Millennium were in the rear of the table.
It was the mad dash for the last playoff spots at the end of the Challenger Series round robin. 5 teams were still in the running to take the last 3 remaining spots, and this is how it's ended up.
That it has. The top 4 teams now battle it out for a chance to fight for their spot in the European LCS. Next week, Fnatic Academy will be taking on Paris Saint-Germain. An incredible matchup there.
Yeah, so much on the line in both of these matches, but you've got to look at the history going into next week's match as well. The added bite of it being Yellow Star on PSG going up against Fnatic's Academy lineup. So that's next week. I want to know about today. Today is an exciting matchup too.
That it is. Of course, Schalke taking on Misfits tonight. One team will emerge victorious and take that spot in the coveted European LCS promotion tournament. We'll bring you a best of 5 between Schalke 04 and Misfits Academy. Let's go through those lineups to start us off. Schalke 04 will be starting it up. Top lane is Smitty J, jungle is Lulex, mid lane is Selfie, their AD carry Upset, support Vander, and their coach Veteran.
That is the Schalke lineup. They will be starting on the blue side, whereas on the red side of the Rift are the Misfits Academy lineup. In the top lane, it is Jizu. In the jungle is Pride Stalker. Mid lane is CosQ. AD carry Yuki. Support Dreams. And returning to the LCS stage is their coach, Unlimited.
Now, I think you have to talk about Schalke when we start off this discussion. They were undefeated across the entire split, arguably the best Challenger Series team we have ever seen.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people compare them to Origin, but even Origin dropped a game in their final week. So Schalke, the so-called perfect split, 10-0. You heard Vander talk a lot. This team, they feel like it's very disciplined. Like the team themselves are all in a good spot, and you can kind of see it in the pedigree of their players when you look at their history too.
Yeah, there's a lot of history behind some of these players as well. Selfie and Smitty J have been in promotion tournaments before, actually got their teams promoted, and then gone on to no longer play for the organization that got promoted. Selfie actually played for Misfits Academy in the promotion tournament last split, and now he's playing against his old team to try and get Schalke to that promotion tournament.
Maybe a little bad blood there, but it's all about in-game, and in-game is where Schalke have looked absolutely dominant. And obviously, a lot of that is from their objective focus gameplay. They've taken 90% of their first towers in the game. Like, that's an incredible statistic. And you take into account, you were talking about it yesterday on the post-game lobby, they've taken 5 towers for any time they've ever lost one. So Schalke are a tough, tough cookie to crack.
Misfits will be looking to see if they can make that cookie crumble. They had roster struggles early on, of course, in the Challenger Series. Had to bring in Kadir for week 1 quite late, and then Pride Stalker subbed in after Kadir had to leave to pursue his studies.
Yeah, and Pride Stalker, he started out a little up and down. We saw a few games come through, had a Rengar game that didn't hit the mark despite everybody talking about how good his Rengar was. But I think Misfits Academy grew quite a lot throughout the last few weeks of the split. Dreams has stayed consistent when you look at the Misfits Academy lineup down in that support role. And this is a team that I think can do well against Schalke. It is an uphill battle, but in the last game of the split against Schalke, Misfits Academy were leading for the early game and actually took it to Schalke in what was a surprising start to the game.
And that's where Misfits thrive as well, in those active games. You know, they want lots of kills, lots of deaths. They actually are the team with the highest number of kills and assists and also the highest number of deaths. So they really like those. They like the team fight focused games, and Schalke haven't really been drawn into that thus far by any of the teams they've faced.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's where Misfits could end up doing very well. Normally, their early game for Misfits Academy isn't the greatest, but obviously anything can happen. We saw in that first half of the last game of the split that Misfits Academy were doing well enough. Maybe now with 2 extra weeks of practice, they know that they've been set to go up against Schalke. Maybe you start camping Selfie like we saw other teams do, if he's on something that scales later into the game.
Exactly. It worked for Millennium when he was on that Kassadin. Getting the early kills against him really forced Misfits Schalke behind. It's actually one of the few games we've seen Schalke behind in gold at that 20-minute mark. They were still able to win it, but sometimes you just have to put them in a position that they're uncomfortable with. That's what Misfits will be looking to do.
And that's the key thing, though, is like you look at the PSG Schalke games all the way from week 2. PSG had a good early game, right? And then Schalke came back later into the game. It seems like when Schalke start grouping, when they start looking for the bigger objectives on the map, whether it's a team fight before Baron or, you know, the further we go through the Drake counter, that's where Schalke really start actually ramping up their decision-making and how clean they play as a team.
I do want to come back to that PSG point, because we did see PSG early on actually take a lead against Schalke, but I think a lot of the reason Schalke won that game was PSG misplaying rather than Schalke playing it incredibly well. So I feel now, Misfits, if Pride Stalker's had a couple more weeks to settle in, perhaps he can force Lulex behind a little bit more and we'll see Schalke out of their comfort zone. We are into Champion Select for the first game of this best of 5. Schalke on the blue, Misfits Academy on the red, and it's a Lulu ban straight away from Schalke.
And that's been a staple ban in the EU Challenger Series. Everybody's been banning Lulu, even before we started seeing it in the LCS. Now we're taking away some of the earlier game combinations. You can see at least we've seen paired very well with Renekton very commonly, but not in this game. Misfits Academy going to take that away from Lulex.
Yeah, and the Shen ban coming out as well from Schalke. Shen banned in almost every LCS game this week on 7.5. Not too surprising to see that impactful top laner taken away from Misfits. Jace as well. Actually, Misfits deciding they don't want to give Schalke the ability to ramp up with an AD mid laner.
And we've seen mid laners really take that Jace. Like Febiven in the LCS has been looking so strong in it. You have to imagine Selfie's had a lot of time to practice and play it now. Jace has been in the meta for so long, and that's an Akali ban.
That's a little bit of a shock, although, of course, it was mentioned yesterday on the post-game lobby that Akali is one of those champions that kind of sits right at the edge of the meta. Can do really well.
I think that was a little bit more trolling than anything.
Yes.
Lulex is smiling, so we'll see. I mean, one thing is for certain, Schalke can't afford to underestimate Misfits Academy right now. CosQ used to be an Akali main. Yeah. When he came initially into the into Challenger Series, that's what he was known for. We've had a couple of bans now go through. Gragas has come out as a ban from Misfits Academy.
And it is a Graves lock-in straight away for Schalke. The contested picks I thought would be Graves and Nautilus, so not too surprised to see Lulex pick up a strong jungler early on.
And I like if this Tahm Kench goes through for Misfits Academy, it gives them playmaking ability. Rengar is what Pride Stalker has been known for and is available. Despite the fact there were a few nerfs on 7.5, Contracts would like a word with anybody who says that Rengar is not a good jungler anymore, because he was unstoppable in one of the games yesterday in the NALCS.
Exactly, and this shows confidence for Misfits Academy as well, because the last time Pride Stalker got Rengar in Challenger Series, it did not go well for them at all. They put a bit of confidence in him. They say, look, we practiced for a couple more weeks, we'll give him the Rengar, and we'll hope that he can work his magic early on.
Now, where do we go from this? It's AD carry has had a high prioritization. That's where we're getting the lock-in here. This forces Misfits Academy to now pick up something they want to play into the Caitlyn, whether it's the Ashe, whether it's the Ezreal or the Jhin. We've seen quite a lot. Jhin has fallen quite far down and generally is only played into a lot of the Ezreal right now, so that's likely what this third pickup from Misfits Academy will be.
What will Schalke be looking at here? Are they going to... Well, it's a lot easier for you now because they lock in the Oriana, but the question I was going to ask is, do you go for something like a support because you know supports are going to get banned out by Misfits Academy on the next rotation?
Well, you look at it, Vander is very comfortable, and now you've got a Caitlyn. You compare almost anything, even like a Nami with this. The reason they are picking this Oriana is now they get the absolute safe mid lane matchup. They can ban out Syndra in this second phase of bans on the side of Schalke Academy, and suddenly Misfits Academy have to go to a scaling mid laner, and you're forcing cosQ later into the game.
So Ashe is the next pickup for Misfits. They've got their bot lane locked in. They are going to focus those bans down towards the support role as well, with the Karma being taken away from Vander. It's going to be a very interesting matchup in that bot lane, because Upset and Vander have been sort of the quiet lane for Schalke, whereas Yuki and Dreams have been the loud lane for Misfits Academy.
And it's Vander, so you would normally expect him to go something like a Thresh. However, with Tahm Kench locked in, probably not the single target crowd control champion you're looking for on that one. So with Karma banned away, this might even be like a Nami ban coming through if they don't want any kind of high lane presence support. It isn't quite in the meta, but we have seen Nami played around the globe a couple of times here and there.
The question is where Vander then goes after that. Now, there's still top lanes to be picked for both of the teams
maybe?
As well. Renekton is still on the cards, as you say. Camille is going to be the ban for Misfits Academy. Now, LeBlanc's got all the way through this as well, and you were talking about aggressive mid laners. LeBlanc seems to really fit into that role at the moment.
Well, the problem with LeBlanc right now is that, I mean, she did get nerfed. We saw Caps not have such a good time on her in the EU LCS, but we did also then see a couple of other matchups that went a lot better. So we might see it, but I wouldn't say it's like a guaranteed lock-in here. LeBlanc doesn't punish Oriana specifically that hard in the lane, so it can be difficult.
Now, looking towards seeing what they're going to pick here. Of course, we have seen a few Echoes being played recently. You've got the LeBlanc, you've got a lot of safe mid laners. Cassiopeia is one of cosQ's favorites.
Yep. Absolutely. Seen cosQ playing Cassiopeia for the last 2 years here in Challenger, so anytime that is a scaler that he needs in the mid lane, that typically is the one he picks up.
And they're leaving their top laner for last here as well, which is interesting because
he locks it.
It is going to be the Thresh lock-in for Vander, which we talked about a little bit with the Tahm Kench being partly a counter, because as soon as you hook someone, you devour them. But the top lane pick being left for last for Misfits Academy seems odd to me, because Jisoo has not been their carry focus a lot of the time.
And right here, Smitty J can pick Nautilus and neutralize a lot of any carry potential. If there's a Renekton that comes out here, we might just see a tank versus tank matchup be the final place his top lane settles. Now, this is Schalke saying, okay, we can't hook the AD carry, but let's go for the Tahm Kench. Let's maybe try and kill Dreams in lane. And Jisoo, you talked about how maybe he hasn't been a carry. He's going to have to do some work in teamfights here with this Rumble. Obviously, he has that teamfight presence, the ability to also push Nautilus in the laning phase. But if Misfits Academy end up falling behind, they've only really got Tahm Kench as a front line here.
It's going to be a very interesting matchup, especially around that 20-minute mark. The last time, actually, we saw Misfits Academy ahead at the 20-minute mark was in week 1 of the European Challenger Series.
With a different jungler.
Especially like with a different jungler and with a different composition here. A lot of their composition in this seems to scale from mid-game to late game.
Right.
Cassio's a bit late, but they've got a lot of damage in those mid-game teamfights.
But at the same time, Schalke don't have a composition that I anticipate will take over from minute 1 in this game. Nautilus will get pushed in the early game against Rumble. You've got a farming jungler in Graves and a mid laner that needs a little extra time as well. So it's only possibly bot lane that is a bully matchup. But as we load into this game, Vander doesn't stick with the Ignite. It changes over to Exhaust at the last second.
Of course, Exhaust nerfs on 7.5, so I'm surprised we're not seeing more Ignites across the board, but we are going to line up on the Rift once again. If you guys want to get involved, make sure you tweet us with the hashtag EUCS. If you think Schalke Null Fear will continue their winning spree, it's hashtag S04 win. And if you think Misfits Academy can topple the giants of Schalke, it's hashtag MFA win. I want to look a little bit at bottom lane. We talked a little bit as we get onto the Summoner's Rift, because Yuki has been the highest damage dealing AD carry of any player in the Challenger Series. Alongside that, he's been the highest damage dealing player of any player in the EUCS. And here they've given him the Ashe Tahm Kench into a Caitlyn Thresh matchup.
Yeah.
How do you feel Yuki's going to be able to use that to help Misfits?
I think Ashe isn't a particularly bad matchup into Caitlyn in like a 1v1 sense. I mean, obviously bot lane is 2v2 overall. It kind of is support dependent now. If Vander can ever land a hook on someone like Dreams early, chunk him down, that then denies the ability of Tahm Kench to have any kind of presence in the lane. So it is a rough one. Tahm Kench typically does save a lot of playmaking ability for his AD carry against a champion like Thresh, but you can punish the Tahm Kench at the same time. Now, the reason you haven't got Ignite in this matchup for Vander is, I assume it's to do with shutting out this Rengar, this Cassiopeia as well, champions that you can still utilize the exhaust very well against, and there's not a lot of kill pressure with that Tahm Kench in the lane, so you're not always going to be getting them low. I do still think Upset and Vander will be playing this a very aggressive style in the lane. Tends to be how they like to play.
That it is indeed. And Lulex as well. Very aggressive early on with these junglers. We've seen him play a lot of Kha'Zix across the split. Tends to be quite far ahead of his enemy opponents when we get towards that mid game. But here you say he's playing more of a carry or a scaling jungler. He wants to farm up quite a bit on this Graves. Pridestalker might have an opportunity early on to get some ganks off while Lulex is still farming up.
He may do, and you can see that Misfits Academy are denying the jungle invade start out of Lulex for the Raptors. Lulex has started with a control ward. You can see Will just get placed in that bush. That's defending anybody coming down from the side from Misfits Academy. And we've seen so many LCS teams do this. You move in with the jungler like Graves that has this fast clear on the small Raptors. You take them away, and now Pridestalker is going to be missing about a third of a level at least when he inevitably comes back around. Does smite down the Raptor, but having to use that smite early on there actually is going to be a little frustrating for Pridestalk. He doesn't get a max amount of experience from that camp. Lulex hit level 2 as well.
Yeah. A lot of the experience in that camp sits in those little razor beaks, the babies, rather than in the adults. Youth can be wiser than age at points, but it does mean Pridestalk is a little bit behind. And now we're just going to see, how Misfits decide to approach this early in mid-game.
But look at what Lulex does here. He goes instantly to his Raptors, puts the ward down to deny Pridestalker doing the same, and then I imagine Lulex is going to go towards his red buff and end up taking that. That typically is the defensive pathing. That way, Pridestalker couldn't go to his blue and then instantly invade. So Lulex is reacting to prevent Pridestalker from equalizing, and eventually Lulex will come out ahead around about that level 4 mark. Level 5 might be the tipping point on that experience exchange.
So as we were building up towards picks and bans, we talked a lot about how Schalke are the objective-focused team. They like to get these early towers. They like to shut the enemy out of the game, not through killing them, but rather just taking down those structures. Misfits Academy, to me, seem to have a much better team, especially early on, at trying to go towards those turrets. You've got Abyssal Voyage, you've got the Equalizer you can lay down behind a tower, you've got relatively good siege, you've got pick potential with the Arrow and with the Rengar. Is there a possibility that Misfits can, if they play the mid-game well, actually catch Schalke off guard?
Absolutely, there's a possibility there. You look at somebody like Selfie, who has at times been known to play quite forward in the lane, so if you see that in mid lane, you can get on top of him unless like Ghost and Flash are available. Selfie is susceptible, but right now it's a little early for that. You saw Pridestalker cross over a ward, the one that Lulex had placed earlier to defend his Raptors. He didn't actually get pinged out by Schalke, but you have to think they saw him there in the lane. You can see Selfie now playing a little bit further back. They know the vision control has gone over to Misfits Academy on the bottom side of the river, and that's why he's playing towards top side now. Always grouping up towards Lulex, towards that control ward, because there's no way Pridestalker can be coming from that side.
And part of it is what we talk about a lot of the time, push potential early on. Which lane's going to be pushing up past that river mark? Which lane's going to be able to react quicker to you? Lulex has come up towards the top side, but I think Jisoo may have smelt this one out. Went for the ward. They've spotted as well Pridestalker on the ward towards those razor beaks, and now Jisoo is caught in the river. Flashes away straight away, trying to slow Lulex down. Pridestalker needs to react. He's going to blast Stone across. It's going to be a 2v2 in the river. And neither team decides they want the fray.
Exactly. Now Schalke pull back away from this exchange because there's no point in taking this fight. Lulex hasn't had an opportunity to go back yet, whereas Pridestalker has. Lulex, with that, has also got a little bit of an experience and advantage still out of that jungle trade early on. So already Schalke getting the flash is a win enough for them, but it's not enough to have a gold advantage. You can see Cosq, because they were forcing Selfie to be a little more passive, has got himself a lane advantage.
Ever so slightly. It's not a huge one, and we have already seen Selfie go back, so Cosq pushes the wave forward. Selfie now comes back. We'll equalize that a little bit, probably be about 5 or 6 behind at the end of it all. It's not the end of the world for either of those mid laners. But I want to bring it back to Jisoo because he's an often overlooked member of Misfits Academy. Of course, came across from the Korean challenger scene, played for Ever 8 there for a split. but he is quite inexperienced as a top laner, and perhaps his inexperience showed a little bit there with him going a little bit too far forward when they didn't know where Lulex was. Now he's burnt his flash and he can't utilize the push potential of this Rumble in that lane.
Yeah, exactly. Now, if Jisoo pushes out in the lane, Lulex is coming back around, and you've got a Nautilus alongside him that's soon to hit level 6, and that's a very dangerous point. Here's the hook in the bottom lane, onto the trap, but just
Yuki's
damage.
in a good position there as well to put damage back onto upsets. Like, it's great to get damage down onto the Dreams, but if Yuki can step forward, which he's known for being aggressive, Upset takes more of a negative trade, and Dreams has more pots than Upset does, so he'll be happy enough with that.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot easier for them to trade on the back half if there's health left on that Tahm Kench. You can see they only did a couple of autos after that trap had landed, so it's not like they basically got Tahm Kench in kill range.
Yeah.
So Yuki can step forward and punish effectively. That's the other side of the volley as well. If you're out and get caught by it as Caitlyn, you still take a lot of damage on the back half of that trade.
Jisoo's actually just used his teleport up towards the top side. Smitty's used his as well, so perhaps a delaying of those fights that we talked about earlier on. The Rumble's not going to be able to get there. Lulex once again focusing up towards that top side. He knows if he can shut Jisoo down, he takes a lot away from Misfits. Pridestalker's going to spot him out. And once again, I think both these teams are just going to play safe for the time being.
It's not been the worst reaction out of Pridestalker after having the rocky start that we had.
In all honesty, I think it's been a very good reaction because he is tended to go behind and then not be able to get back into it. He's equal on CS, he's finished his first jungle item, and he hasn't been going for too aggressive plays. He's actually ahead on experience over Lulex.
Yeah, and a lot of that is because Lulex now twice has come topside and has got a flash the first time, but then the second time doesn't actually get anything from it. So it was only a minor exchange when it comes to that experience early on, but Lulex might be caught out here. Flash forward from Kozki.
Kozki going in, Lulex is going to flash away as well. Here's the Grave Summoner burn and delays his jungle a little bit, but it's not the end of the world for Lulex.
Yeah, I actually think that favors Lulex more because Kozki oh, there's the shockwave.
Shockwave onto Kozki, tries to put the
turn.
Petrifying Gaze back. Here's the Thrill of the Hunt as well. Pridestalker might look for a fight here. Not for the time being, of course. He's got a very long cooldown on that ultimate.
First of all, it was composure out of Kozki. Flashed forward onto Lulex, but realized that the ultimate wouldn't have connected, so didn't actually cast it. Holds on to that ultimate because he knows he's going to need that if Selfie ends up shockwaving him in the lane, and that's what ends up happening. So Kozki doesn't quite catch it on that exchange because Selfie was prepared for it too. So both mid laners, little micro decisions, all play out kind of back and forth. Exchange of ultimates and a couple of summoners, but now Kozki is more vulnerable. He's got no flash. If we see that Thresh come mid or the Nautilus come mid, double hooks maybe might see them catching out Kozki.
A lot of this portion of the game, from about the 8 to the 20-minute mark, is going to be about which support rotates quicker, which support's able to get there faster, because if the Thresh is there, you've got the threat of the hook. If the Tahm Kench is there, you can always have the threat of getting licked to death, and as well, he can devour up anyone who is caught. Now, Dreams has been slightly pushed off towards the side here by Schalke. Offset's just going to continue the damage down, but shouldn't be the end of the world. Kozki's going to go in onto Selfie, gets the Twin Fangs out, Noxious Blast comes down as well. Now, Kozki's just going to retreat away, has popped the Ghost.
Yep.
And Lulex came up as well.
Both ghosts popped. You got to look at it though. The cooldown on the Shockwave is coming up soon, so Kozki can't afford another trade like that. It was good damage up front, and you can see Kozki has got himself a lead when it comes to CS again. And we'll see whether Kozki can actually make that work out in his advantage anymore. Is able to clear out these waves when it starts coming to him, but you can see the push potential of this Orianna already coming through.
Kozki, of course, a player who's been a stalwart of the Challenger scene. He's actually been in every single Challenger Series playoff tournament and has never won it or got through to the LCS, so he'll be striving quite hard here to show that he has the fortitude to get through to that LCS.
Yeah, closest he got, I believe, was when Lowland Lions White played in the first spring split of 2015.
It's a long time ago.
A long time ago.
Although actually it's not, if you look at it in pure mathematical terms, only about 2 years ago, which isn't that long when you think about it, but in the terms of esports, in the growth and development we have seen in the Challenger scene especially, it seems like an aeon ago.
It does. It's making me all...
nostalgic.
Oh, yeah, that was the first one that me and Pulse did. That was... Anyway, moving on from sentimental feelings at this point, it's all about Pridestalker coming mid lane with his ult. Selfie has his flash.
Gonna flash away straight away. Bowler doesn't connect either. Second one does. Here's the shockwave. Miasma comes down. Pridestalker might go in. Kozku solo, but gets burst blood. He's gonna die to the... No, he's not. Oh, Kozku! That was edge of your seat stuff as Kozku just about survives.
So close to Kozku ending up dead under tower. Walked back in range.
That was
Good first ult out of Pridestalker. I believe this is the second of the game. Actually getting onto Selfie. They force the flash out, follow in, and get the damage down after it. Misfits Academy, this is looking more like their second game against Schalke than what everybody had predicted.
11 minutes in, they're 1,200 gold to the good. They are playing incredibly well. They have CS leads in most of the lanes. Once again, let's look at this because Pridestalker sets this up all by himself.
Yeah, Pridestalker goes in. Kozku, however, is able to put the miasma down, gets at least a little bit extra damage, and it's enough to take Selfie out, and then, woo, that was close.
I think the Twin Fangs killing a minion just gave him that little bit extra health back that he needed. I want to come back to Pridestalker because before, like yesterday in the post-game lobby, today we've been talking about him and saying he's the member of Misfits that really needed to step up. You know, he needed to show that he was a good replacement for Kadir. At the moment, he's 20 CS up basically over Lulex. He's had one great effective gank that's got themselves a kill, and he's a level ahead of this Graves.
Yeah, it's a good start for Pridestalker. The only thing that Misfits have to be careful of with this is that they're taking... Okay, let me start this again.
Yep.
What Misfits Academy need to do is when they get kills from players like this, they need more from it. And that is what this Graves jungle on the other side will actually punish very hard to do. And that's champion specific rather than lineup specific. Like if Graves moves in, gets a kill in a lane, the tower is gone. Or at least loses enough health that you push it down very easily. So Schalke have better punish on the back side, and that's what I want to see somehow Misfits Academy looking to do, whether it's teleporting in with Jisoo, looking for the dive behind the tower. This is a Nautilus, though. Oh, wow, that damage.
Knock up with a depth charge. Pridestalker's going to get himself away, and Jisoo will burn through the Nautilus. Fire beats water, and now Misfits will look for the first tower.
And this is what we were talking about. They have to push onto the tower and get it down on the backside. Schalke will be able to react, I think, with the tower kill, but there are still two members of Misfits Academy behind this tower, so Schalke need to wait and respect the minion wave dying underneath them. They have to wait for the next one. They may not even get this.
That is the first time Misfits Academy have ever taken first tower in a game, and it's only the second time Schalke have ever lost first tower in a game. Misfits showing up big. Those 2 weeks they had to prep and prepare for this game seem to be paying off.
This is looking a lot better. Schalke get denied on the bottom side as well, so Misfits Academy, this is what they needed. They get the first kill, they utilize it well, and look, now Pridestalker has a 2-level advantage on Lulex. Flash forward.
No flash for Selfie. Miasma comes down. Twin Fangs shockwave does knock him back, and Selfie just about survives. But Kozku has the number of Selfie.
That was a great shockwave to catch Pridestalker at the same time.
Hello?
Oh! just off target for Yuki, but I think this is what Misfits Academy needed, was to come out in game one looking very strong compared to the Schalke lineup. Of course, this is a best of 5, so we need to see them maintain this. If they can keep up this pace, Schalke, this is looking a little more dire than we've seen in quite some time.
This is a situation we haven't really seen at all for Schalke as well. You know, they've gone behind on objectives, they've gone behind on gold. We are still early on, and Schalke have shown us once before that they can come back from a gold deficit. But at the moment, all of the pressure, all of the map awareness, all of the vision is in favor of Misfits.
Yeah, now Jisoo going to continue to push up on the top side. You can see this ward will spot out Lulex. There's ping's gone down on him. This might cause Misfits Academy to go aggressive onto him. You can see Pridestalker's motioning down for it. Jisoo's pinging as well. Lulex does have to be careful, but has Selfie around. Shockwave is nearly available if this actually turns into an engage, but Misfits Academy, I don't think are going to be there in time.
Jungle tracking is all that really Misfits Academy want out of that. They just want to know where Lulex is. They want to be able to make sure they can keep track of him. Actually going to get behind Upset here. Kozku brought in with the Abyssal Voyage, and Upset is going to get taken out by Kozku. They're looking for the chase onto Vander. He puts down the box. Dreams flashes in for the lick. Vander under turret. Misfits decide they don't want to go any deeper, and they get another kill.
And Misfits Academy want to continue this push onto the tower now because they did lose bot tower. It was the equalizing of the tower that died earlier, and now Schalke, they're going to be a tower down. Misfits Academy are going to continue this aggression, and looking on the top side, Arrow whiffs. Looking on the top side, there's no pressure for Schalke in this exchange. So Misfits Academy coming out strong.
And this is what you were talking about in picks and bans. We said Schalke are great at taking an objective when they're losing somewhere else on the map. You know, if they have a lane pushing towards them, they'll go to the other side, they'll get a tower, they'll get a dragon. Misfits have just denied them that the entire time. Now, Upset does get the turret, but the Abyssal Voyage comes in and the miasma is superb.
Oh, brilliant miasma right on top of that lantern. And Upset gets locked in place, no way to go. And Vander does get out with his life, but still Misfits Academy continued this push. 3-0, Schalke still yet to get on the board. I don't want to take anything away from Misfits Academy here. They have had a great, great start. Just got to keep it up.
Yeah, definitely. And this is the thing as well. Misfits Academy will be running on a high emotionally at the moment. They'll be saying, look, they're ahead of Schalke. And it's very difficult to keep those emotions under check and make sure you still enact your game plan, especially with a mid-game focused team like they have. They need to really play these next 10 to 15 minutes absolutely perfectly.
And they can't be, you know, much happier with this. You've got a Rumble that's got a kill. Leandris has already completed 2 kills onto Cassiopeia, and Cosq, a veteran of being in this stage of Challenger Series. Can't go too much better than that. Now Pridestalker's looking for a Dragon on the bottom side. For Schalke, though, you got to go into damage control mode. It's more about how can you react to what Misfits Academy are doing right now with the Shockwave, with this Caitlyn that can slow the game down. Put the traps down in mid, utilize some of that defensive wave clear that comes through, and really halt this aggression.
The anti-siege from Schalke is absolutely incredible. Nautilus with the Riptide, you've got Orianna there, you've got Graves, you've got Caitlyn. It's almost impossible for Misfits to take that second tier of towers. Now, the first tier is a lot easier to get to because you've got the thrill of the hunt, you've got the threat of the dive, but the second tier is where we'll start to see Schalke lay down their bastion of defense.
The difficulty is, for Upset, he's only got 2 ranks right now in W. We even used to see people maxing W for the traps to get to that rank 5 as quickly as possible so you could cover an entire lane. He's put a lot of points in Q. That's what you do for push power, for pushing. That's what they were looking for, that tower on the bottom side. But right now, you can see he's had to space out 3 traps in the front of the lane to try and just catch anybody and slow them down. But eventually, Misfits are going to get this bottom tower unless they mess up this dive. I don't see it happening because Pridestalker is alongside Cosq. You can see Orianna's backed away. Selfie's not even going to give them the opportunity.
And this is just set up so well by Misfits as well. They get river control with vision. They have the possibility that Dreams comes across for the Abyssal Voyage. It makes it impossible for even 2 members of Schalke to stand underneath that turret and defend, because you always know there could be 4 members of Misfits diving you at any moment.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just a warning shot.
He's got Warlord's Bloodlust though, so he's just going to sustain it straight back up. Now, Schalke are trying to answer. They're trying to go up towards this top side to get the turret. Jisoo will clear out the wave. The question is, do Misfits try and defend this, or do you just give it up?
At this point, there's not enough push power here. Look where the next wave is. Like, Jisoo knew he could just clear that out, and it's another 20 seconds. If Schalke wanted to sit around there doing nothing in topside for 20 seconds, that is fine for Misfits Academy. They'll just make sure mid's pushed, bot's still pushed out, where Selfie is just collecting any farm that he can. Not a lot of options on the map for Schalke right now. It's going to be on the next dragon when it comes out. Uh-oh, that's Cloud. Not really the kind of dragon that you're going to draw Misfits Academy into a fight over. And even if you do, Rumble, Ashe, Cassiopeia, difficult to fight around dragon for Schalke.
We're getting towards the 20-minute mark of this game, Stress, and we talked so often about how strong Schalke are at taking objectives early on, how strong they are at getting a lead at 20 minutes. This is going to be only the second time they have been behind at that 20-minute mark, assuming somehow they don't manage to find a pot of gold with 4,000 gold in it in the next 30 seconds. Yeah.
That would be a monumental turnaround.
Just need a rainbow somewhere.
Well, the one game that this did happen with, the PSG series, where PSG had Ryze, Sivir. We were like, PSG, they got this game. They're so far ahead. And they did Baron against the poke composition of Schalke. And one Shock Blast came through, took all the health away from PSG, and the Baron went in the way of Schalke. I don't see that happening quite as easily this game without a big shockwave.
Selfie's going to get jumped on by Pridestalker. Selfie almost goes down, doesn't manage to get away with the Lantern. Threat of the Hunt's going to come out. The ammo lands onto Selfie. Vander flashed away. Pridestalker jumps in. The box comes down. Pridestalker, another bowler comes out. Dream's going to lick him up as well. They're not going to go too much deeper for this. They've already got Selfie. They've got what they came for.
Looked like Vander was trying to make sure he took the arrow, ended up flashing and missing the arrow. Oh, onto the bot
Costu
lane.
just doing so much work, even through the exhaust. Abyssal Voyage is going to come out as well, and they could look for this tier 2. Dreams actually just came in to try and help in case Upset and Vander went more aggressive.
And so much of this lead comes from the early Rengar plays. Now Lulex.
Such smart play by Jisoo to come behind the tower. Now Dreams puts the exhaust down onto Lulex, and he's going to be taken out once again. Misfits Academy are on fire.
Misfits Academy is shaken Schalke right now, 5-0. This is such a good start for this team, and so much of it came from Pridestalker's early plays. The one on mid, and then the one top side to get the tower down, open up the map, and they're denying Schalke's any possibility of getting their itemization to be strong enough to fight these fights, because Pridestalker catches Selfie, who's coming through the jungle on a greedy path. We'll take another look at this. Vander looked like he was trying to flash into the arrow, I think.
Possibly.
It would have given the slow over and probably had Pridestalker flash it. I don't know whether I'm being generous to Vander there or making excuses for him, but...
It's a tough one for the support to do, because it looked like it was going to miss him in the first instance and definitely would have hit the Orianna, so then he tries to flash for it. It was a stressful moment, so you never know where your mouse quite is, but...
I think it's... Someone's going to flame me on Twitter for this. Vander's just trying to save his high KDA right now. That's all it is. He's like, I got 0 deaths in this game. I'm just going to not get hit by this arrow. I'll end on 0 deaths. That's fine.
Of course, Vander was unkilled for the majority of the split. Only died 8 times across the entirety of it, but...
Vander is not a KDA player.
No,
it's okay.
he's not.
He is not.
No, he is not. He's a great support
Vander
player.
is more of a, I'll throw myself at a situation and normally it works out very well and I don't die for it. So that's where his high KDA came from.
And the fact that Schalke were just destroying any team that they met.
I'm just trying to like make it so that people aren't flaming me that hardcore. It's okay.
So I'll get on Twitter after the game and make sure I direct some flame your way. But the Schalke tank seems to have stalled early on in this game. Maybe they need a little bit more diesel, put that in the tank. Maybe they need to get that clutching gear, because at the moment, Misfits Academy are clutching this one out. 6,000 gold ahead, only 22 minutes into the game. They are looking unstoppable.
You can see the Misfits Academy looking to make a play before a Baron call here. Pop the Rengar ultimate, push everybody out of the jungle. But that Rift Scuttle is there. There's also a Trinket Ward in the Baron pit.
Jisoo flashing away from the dredge line. Orianna's on her way down. Selfie's going to try and get in here. The equalizer does come out, but Jisoo is dead. And now Misfits Academy cannot make that Baron play.
A necessary play out of Schalke, and it pulls Misfits Academy down to that Cloud Drake, which is going to help them, but isn't as significant as looking for a play around Baron, or if this had been an Infernal or something like that. So Schalke will be okay with that play.
Schalke know that trade is going to happen if they go for the play. So.
And now, because Schalke can kind of beat them to the mid lane, they're trying to cut into mid tower. You can see Yuki gets there in time, is able to push it back away. Still, Misfits Academy have a good lead. Far enough ahead in this game that they'll be thinking to themselves, okay, all we got to do is play this out, and we should be able to close out game 1.
How do they play out the next few minutes, though? Because we were saying those tier 2s is where it becomes very difficult for Misfits Academy actually to set up a siege. Do you look for a 1-3-1? Do you look for a straight 5-man siege? What is the plan for Misfits?
For Misfits right now, if somebody like Selfie steps forward in the lane too far, just like Jisoo was doing, you bring Dreams in behind them with a Tahm Kench. It's how you punish somebody that's out of position. And whether it's Coscube, Pridestalker, just 2 people should be enough to deal with Selfie. As Pridestalker has a lot of damage right now. 155 CS out of that jungle roll. And he's done so well this game.
Yeah, once again, you have to come back to him. And we said he seemed to be the weak link. He seemed to have not stepped up to the plate. Well, this is the Pridestalker we know and love from solo queue. He has destroyed Lulex in the jungle early on, has been a level ahead for the majority of the game, since about 8 minutes or so.
And let's not understate it, like this is Pridestalker's first time on the LCS stage. I believe the only other player that hasn't had competition, at least this type of level, is Upset.
Yep.
I know Jisoo played for Ever8, the Challenger team before, but certainly here in Europe, Pridestalker yet to really strut his stuff on stage. He's having a great game 1, though.
It's been a huge step up for him. He played for Team Larsen Reborn in the Challenger Series qualifications, one of the teams that was made very hastily before the tournament actually even started. And before that, had never played in a Challenger tournament at all. So it's a very large mountain that he has climbed, and at the moment, he's scaling it incredibly easily.
we'll see how that continues, because this is a best of 5. We have seen things at all levels go awry in best of 5s.
But you
Even had it in the World Finals.
That we did. I think you come back to draft as well slightly for this game for Schalke, because they prioritise that Graves, and we've always said their draft has been impeccable across the split. You know, they've always been able to counter draft their opponents. Here, they picked the Graves up first, they gave up the Rengar. It has not worked out for them at all.
Well, Misfits Academy, they are going to get this Baron. It's very quick with that Cassiopeia. It's already gone in their favor. Now they want to look to fight.
Yeah, Abyssal Voyage going to come in. Dream's looking for it. Selfie's going to flash the wall. Misfits Academy will be happy with those summoners.
I think the problem actually has ended up being the Caitlyn Orianna rather than the Graves. I don't mind Caitlyn Ori, but at the same time, they take so long to ramp up in a game that if you're taking a farming jungler and then you show 2 time-focused, like later game carries, suddenly you open yourself up to a very slow playstyle out of Schalke. The Nautilus is normally okay, but also doesn't win this lane against Rumble, so it's difficult. It's difficult for Schalke with this draft to actually get an early game focus, but they can stall the game. Baron makes it a lot more difficult. Misfits have only taken 3 towers, though. At this point, you see a lot of the dominant teams having taken 4 or 5, maybe cracked an inhibitor tower by that time they get that first Baron, and at that point the game is over. Even with this Baron buff, I don't think Misfits Academy are going to be able to do critical damage within the next 2 minutes 30 without getting a good few kills first.
Well, they are looking for it. They're setting up down towards this red side jungle, looking to see if they can get the vision control. And then, of course, as you said, they can Abyssal Voyage Dreams in. It's not up at the moment, still on cooldown for the next 30 seconds or so, but it will be up soon enough. Actually, they're just going to force 4 members bot here, keep Coscu just pushing up that wave in mid, and it's the 4th tower for them straight away.
Yep, exactly. This is what they can do with these inner towers. With the Baron buff, they're quite easy to take. I wouldn't be surprised to see Misfits Academy ending this passage of play with the Baron buff with about a 9,000 gold lead. It's about 7,000 right now, so a little more extension on what they've got. But we've already talked about the stalling potential here. You can see the traps make it difficult for Misfits Academy to position forward. You can't retreat out of this particularly easily. But right now, only 2 items on that Caitlyn. You haven't got your armor pen items. You haven't got all of that damage that you require.
This is all the threat they need, though. Jisoo comes across with the Equalizer, you pop Thrill of the Hunt, and you just use 1 cooldown to get a tower for yourselves once again.
And again, it's just simple. It's just for the tower, and that's all Misfits Academy are looking for in that situation, backing away very composed. And Schalke don't have options to actually start that fight. Aside from Smitty J somehow hooking somebody like Yuki, that would be the way they get it done.
And I want to come back to that, because you said it's very composed, it's very patient for Misfits Academy. Up until now in Challenger Series, they have been the team that fights. They like dirty, messy team fights in river, in jungle, wherever they can find a fight, they'll take it. We haven't really seen them even take a fight this game. There have been a couple of skirmishes early on, but they've only got 5 kills in 30 minutes.
That's true. This is the other side of the composure, though, is Schalke at the same time aren't risking a lot on the plays that they're making. They've been caught out a couple of times, and they have been punished for being out of position, but it's not blindly walking forward. Like, nobody's face-checking to ward, nobody's, like, out of position wildly. So Misfits Academy don't have a lot to capitalize on that isn't towers, and that's why with only 20 seconds left on this Baron buff, we're ending this Baron phase without a,
critical hit?
Without a big crit that's hitting and ending the game for Schalke. Like, if they get an inhib, maybe it's enough for the next Baron, but Misfits Academy are just slowly extending this lead.
But that's what they need to do to some degree as well. As much as they would love to have taken an inhibitor off that Baron, as much as they would have loved to be able to get into a big fight with Schalke when they are 9,000 gold ahead, there is a value in having a bit of patience, saying, look, Mountain Drake's up next, we'll take that, we'll take 2 towers, we'll extend that gold lead, 8,000, almost the 9,000 mark you were talking about for that Baron buff, and we'll start to starve Schalke out of the game. This is a situation Schalke have never been in before in competitive play, in games that we have seen. They have never been this far on the back foot, this far into a game.
That's very true, and we're going to have to see what that composure is made of. They did just attempt to get top lane tower, but had to recall out when the vision control started going in favor of Misfits Academy on the bottom side, and I think when you look at how how Misfits Academy have worked around vision control around these dragons, that's why Schalke have to back away, is because Misfits Academy had all the time in the world, if they wanted to move further into that jungle, try and catch somebody from Schalke that was warding. And Schalke have to give that the respect.
And we've gone from 3,000 gold ahead at 20 minutes to 9,000 gold ahead at 30 minutes. This is Misfits slowly extending the lead. It's something we see time and time again by those high-level LCS teams. And across the board, Misfits are just ahead of their enemies. Look at the item advantages. You've got Voidstaff, Zhonya's, Liandry's finished onto Jisoo, a 3-item rumble into only a basic 3-item tank, Smitty J.
But there's always that timer that's ticking. You've got an Orianna, you've got a Caitlyn. The more farm you're now giving over to the Orianna and the Caitlyn, the dangerous game begins, because they will hit a point where they outscale. Ashe is okay. Pretty decent later game. Cassio, if you get the damage off, is good, but there's a Nautilus that is going to ult that Cassiopeia as he walks into the fight. And suddenly, Schalke will have a lot of strength that has not been shown in the last 10 minutes of this game. But it's not yet. It's not yet. We're only at 3 items for Upset. He needs something to break through Dreams. We'll see if he ends up going for that Giant Slayer into Lord Dominic's. That's what Ludex has gone for.
It is just Schalke trying to work out exactly how they anti-siege it as well. And I want to bring it back to the experience that Schalke have, because you've got 4 players here who've played on the LCS stage. Only Upset, as you said earlier, hasn't played on this exact stage before. And you have to think that they will understand what it's like to be behind, especially, you know, some of the players. H2K in the World Semi-Finals went very far behind at times. And they'll be able to react and play accordingly.
Yeah, exactly. That reaction to the situation is where the experience will shine through. Like, even Lulex made it to Worlds previous years. Vanda's been at Worlds. Smitty J, he played over in the NALCS as well for a time. Selfie, he's played in EU, EUCS, NACS, I think.
No,
like
that's
everything.
the only league he hasn't played.
Has he not played
out of the
NACS?
top 4. He hasn't played NACS.
He spent some time on Echo Fox.
Yes,
so I was wondering whether...
Until they bought Froggen, and then Froggen took the reins.
Of course, that's when he came back for H2K. On loan. But Jisoo's closing the net on the mid lane, see if he can land. Oh, Upset's on his own.
Abyssal Voyage comes down, gets taken out by the arrow. Jisoo gets the kill, Equalizer down as well. Now Schalke on the back foot, just trying to run away from Misfits, but the tank is in reverse gear as Misfits pound forward onto Schalke. Smitty J's low, Misfits unable to get another kill. And Schalke just have to retreat.
Upset doesn't have a QSS, has a Doran's Blade and almost enough money to buy it, but he's actually too far away. I was thinking about whether he needed that earlier because this Cassiopeia, the Ashe, it's something that he's going to have to get before that 4th item, but the rest of the team reacted to try and get him out. It was good play from Misfits Academy to lock him down. Now they want to get this Baron. It is dangerous. Shockwave is available, so is the collateral damage.
Look at how quickly it's going down though, and Pridestalker's not even there. They just get the Baron before Lulex can get anywhere near. Misfits Academy capitalizing once again. Dream splashes in onto Self, not going to be able to get close enough. And Misfits just settle with the Baron.
4-item Cassiopeia is enough to go right through that Baron. Now Smitty J is going to fight on the top side.
Depth charged onto Kozki, will knock him back, but he's taking half his health. Arrow misses. Misfits might continue to look for this. It's going to be another tower for them. They have broken that tier 2 line. Can they break an inhibitor with this Baron?
Yeah, this time the Baron is going to be much more effective. You can see now they're up to 11,000 gold lead. And we're actually into a pause. We'll see if we can get an update on exactly what this pause is for, and let you know when we've got it. But this is such a critical point in the game. Misfits Academy now with this next Baron should be enough to break through the inhibitor line.
How do you actually close out the game here, though, if you're Misfits? Because as much as you have the Baron and you can set up perhaps a 1-3-1, get your Cassio into one lane, get your Rumble into another, there's such good anti-siege coming out from Schalke 04 with the Caitlyn, with the Orianna, with the Graves.
You got to look at it, though. The depth charge is gone. That's one of those big things that would stop the damage from CosQ. There's a couple of flashes missing as well. So Schalke, if they step out of position one too many times, it's going to be the end of the game. As an update on the pause, it is a mic-related issue for Selfie. You can see our technicians helping him out on stage.
Sorting it out. Good
Sorting
thing
it
you
out.
don't have a mic-related issue. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to hear you.
Aww.
Maybe it is a good thing. We'll see.
Some people would
We'll
think
see what
so.
the Reddit
Some
thread
people-
says afterwards.
Wow.
But
That's
I just want to come back
harsh.
to this because, like, when we were doing our story meets and when we were chatting out
Yeah.
this game before we got into the actual action today, we were saying, you know, what would happen if Schalke went far behind? And you know, a couple of times it was laughed off to some degree. We said, you know, Schalke have never been that far behind. They just looked too strong for Misfits when these two teams met. They've fallen behind, and they haven't, as much as they have held onto the game, they haven't been able to push back the tide of Misfits Academy.
Right, they haven't been able to react and take the game back in their favor. And honestly, they look at the tipping point of losing the game
Exactly.
right now. And there is a lot to be said, the fact it is a best of 5, but getting a win in game 1 is going to do wonders for Misfits Academy, because I think Schalke, with what was somewhat of a greedy draft,
The
has
Akali
come
ban,
back
I think
and
you come
punished
back
them.
to.
Yeah, I think you do have to come back to the Akali ban, although we have, again, we were kind of joking about how Koski used to be an Akali main. I don't think she's anywhere near the meta enough to warrant a ban on
And
that.
Rengar ban would have been sort of something that you quite easily substitute in
Exactly.
there. And Pride Stalker has had a Rengar game that is reminiscent of when he was top of solo queue.
Yeah, he really has. That effect from Pride Stalker very early on has been felt throughout the entire game. The play on mid, it was only a flash that came through on the first little bit and then gets a kill under the tower. Second play on top side gets the tower from it as well. And remember, Schalke with this Graves couldn't get bot in response.
Yeah. And it's just cost them a lot. Actually, have another update on this pause. We just have to replace one of the headsets on stage, so it's going to be a couple more seconds before we are back into the action. Have to make sure everything's working. Of course, Schalke at the moment needs to communicate more than ever to be able to...
But they
I
can't
didn't
right
even
now.
intend that. I didn't even intend that part.
They can't right now, though, because we're in pause.
Well, yes,
So-
but I mean, like, when we get back into the game, they'll need to be able to communicate more than ever. So having those mics working and functioning, of course,
Exactly,
is
yeah.
vital for these two teams.
Exactly, and we'll see, because Selfie, he's got that big game-changing shockwave. That if they can communicate the exact timing, get that snap-second decision-making from Selfie, maybe it's enough to turn this game around, but you've got to look at it and say Misfits Academy are in a dominating position.
And Misfits Academy are much more used to this portion of the game as well. Schalke's average game time in Challenger Series was about 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
when you get into the late game portion, actually Schalke don't have as much competitive practice on it. Now, maybe
That's
their
true.
scrims go that long, maybe they, solo queue games go that long, but we'll have to see how much longer this game goes as we get straight back on into the action. Baron Buff, of course, on Misfits Academy. They will back away and then look perhaps to end this game with one final push.
Yeah, they didn't get a kill from that. They did, however, get a bunch of summoners.
They definitely did get some
yeah,
of
they
this.
did.
So Smitty J doesn't have flash, I believe. Upset
He doesn't have his
flash.
ultimate either. Smitty J did just use it, so I've just reset it on mine. We are lacking some of the summoner cooldowns here on the spectator view. The important one to Upset was no flash from that engage in mid lane. Vander currently has no flash as well, I believe. Selfie does have his.
Yeah, I think it's Smitty J, Upset and Vander who don't have flash for Schalke. And on the other side, Jisoo doesn't have his and Kozq doesn't have his, nor does Dreams, actually.
Okay.
So 3 flashes for 3 flashes, with the mid and the junglers having them. So, no, Kozq doesn't have his. But it doesn't matter. We'll have to see how Misfits Academy decide to play this next portion of the game, because they've done this 1 and 4, where they have 1 person in mid lane, 1 person in bot, and then 3 members roaming through the jungle with the threat of Dreams coming in with the Abyssal Voyage quite a few times. And it seems like they're setting that up once again.
Seems like it, and you can see Schalke want to defend on the bottom side. They use the Rengar ultimate from Mr.
Equalizer into ammo, Smitty J in the front line, but Vander is getting melted through. Jisoo pops the Zhonya's. Smitty J still alive, all of Schalke still alive. The turret, however, is not. Smitty J's down, now Selfie joins the fray, looking for the shockwave. Not gonna pull the trigger yet. Kozq takes it, Seraph's exhaust onto Lulex as well, and now Schalke need to defend against 5 members of Misfits. 1 will fall as Yuki gets taken out by Selfie. Upset continues to chase. Miasma down will slow them in their tracks. Misfits Academy get the tower, get the inhibitor, get the hell out of there.
And Schalke are able to hold the second half of the fight, but they have, however, lost the inhibitor from this. Misfits Academy, despite wanting a game-ending fight in the bot lane, will just about come away with that ahead. Depends what Schalke can get on the other side. The Elder Drake is up, but look at where Kozq is already coming down to the fight. He has no flash available. Don't be fooled by the summoner.
Nor Petrifying Gaze. I think it's just about to come back off cooldown, but Thrill of the Hunt is there. Pride looking for the engage. Lulex in the pit, gonna get chased in by Kozcu. He has to flash out, but he's dead. Dreams
got
takes
him.
the hook. Shockwave in. Pride jumps in. Upset takes down Dreams. It's a 3v2 in favor of Schalke. The petrifying gaze comes down. TP in as well. Ace in the hole on Pride Stalker. Schalke will force Misfits Academy back.
Reset.
The Dragon resets as well. Elder Drake going lower. Pride Stalker might look for the steal. No smite. Decides it's not worth his life, and Schalke will take the Elder Drake.
Ooh, and for now, Schalke will stabilize. It's Misfits Academy would have liked that with 2 Mountain Drakes and a Cloud Drake. That would have been a good enhancement to their Drake buff so far, but you can see Schalke will be happy with what is essentially now that team fight presence. Upset is getting closer to that 4-item point, as is Selfie, and Schalke are barely holding on. Just by their fingertips, holding on through that fight. It started well for Misfits Academy.
That it did indeed. Schalke still just about grasping onto the dredges of this game. Elder Drake, of course, runs out pretty quickly, but Misfits Academy still 10,000 gold ahead, 8 kills to 4 up as well.
Really important items that just got completed though. Mercurial Scimitar finished for Upset. Zonya's finished for Selfie. If they avoid the arrow or, you know, the petrifying gaze and can get themselves out of a fight, that might be enough to tip it in Schalke's favor, but still Misfits Academy coming on strong. You can see Lulex, a lot of damage comes over the wall.
Dreams doesn't pop thick skin here, so he goes down, which is a little bit of a misplay. Kozcu does get the petrifying gaze down as well.
That's the second time that Dreams has made a slight misplay in the team fight. So the first one was on that bottom fight. I didn't know whether he had Devour still available, but he didn't catch it. And I believe it was Kozcu that got engaged upon. Misfits Academy, they desperately want to close out this game before this Orianna Caitlyn have become strong enough. And honestly, now we're at that point.
Yeah, Caitlyn's at 4 items. Orianna's at 4 items. They're in. Basically, this is late game. This is late game now, Stress. And although Misfits Academy thrive in the late game, although Misfits Academy have been the team that has played the longest games across the split and Schalke have played the shortest, we still have yet to see how Schalke are going to match up to Misfits when we get past that 40-minute.
But it doesn't indicate an automatic win for Schalke. They are still 10,000 gold down. They are still 3 dragons down. They have Elder for a little bit longer, and Baron is up in 1 minute 30, and Schalke do not have vision control. All this means is we've reached the point in the game where Schalke can take team fights, at least from where their champions normally are able to compete. They are still heavily down in this game, though.
Smitty J doesn't have his teleport at the moment. We'll be back up in time for that Baron, but Misfits Academy have an opportunity now to make a play, and they're looking for it.
Caught.
Equalizer comes out, arrow misses as well, just through the posts. Here's Pride Stalker, thrilling of the hunt. But it's not a thrilling engage from him just quite yet. Misfits back away.
Yeah, backing away, but Misfits are going to track back up through the jungle. They did use 2 ultimates for that, actually 3 with the arrow that came through. Vander trying to maybe find Jisoo, but remember, he's got a Guardian Angel and a Zonya, so will take quite a while to take down. Mid-outer still stands.
Yeah. It's still almost at full HP as well. 3/4 at the moment. Schalke just haven't taken objectives as you'd expect them to.
Yeah, as we cross through that 40-minute mark, mid-outers, one of the longest times we've seen one of those standing. Generally dies before like 20 minutes easily.
That it does, but it just shows how well Misfits have played the map, because usually you think Schalke, at some point in a game, a team just puts 3 people, 4 people mid and takes that mid tower. You know, it's almost uncontestable to some degree. Misfits Academy have not allowed Schalke to do that. Now they're trying to do it. Perhaps pressuring in, but Thriller Hunt back up for Pride Stalker. Jisoo's almost got the equalizer. Kozcu's low. Redemption's going to come out. Upset goes through the miasma and actually uses his scimitar there as well. That could be big.
That could be the fatal error out of Upset. He needed to use it to keep himself at least healthy, try and get out of that slowing field. Inhib just came up.
Whew. That is the Devour used, so that's on cooldown for the next 10 seconds or so.
Equalizer's back available. Oh, now they got Jisoo, but hang on, look at the team. They've started
the Baron. Smitty J perhaps didn't realize they're going for it. Pride Stalker with the Thrill of the Hunt. Arrow onto Smitty. Equalizer in front of the Baron. All of Schalke low. The Shockwave takes out Kozcu though. Upset still alive somehow. Now he's gone down. Misfits Academy will take Smitty into the GA, but Pride Stalker once more. He goes in deep. Perhaps a little bit too far. Lulex exhausted up. Yuki chasing in. Can't quite get Selfie, and he will fall. Now we're going to see Pride, Stalker, and Dreams trying to face up in a 2v3. Selfie is so low, but Jisoo continues to push in. He's in the base, and I don't think Schalke realize it.
Schalke just now turning for it.
Selfie's
they can't
dead.
recall. Selfie ended up dying.
Great
from
abyssal voyage
Stalker.
from Dreams. He came in and he got the kill, and he gets a double. Dreams. What a play. Now Jisoo's going to go for the Nexus Towers, and
They can do
Schalke
it.
just cannot hold it back. Smitty J is dead. Misfits Academy's Dreams are still alive as they go 1-0 up in this series.
And there were a couple of key cooldowns used from Schalke pushing up to try and save Upset. The Redemption was used, the QSS was used, and they couldn't keep Upset alive. Schalke in game one, upset by Misfits Academy. That's a great first win for the Academy lineup.
And a turn up for the books as well. Everyone was saying Schalke should dominate this performance once again. We saw them do it 2 weeks ago, but Misfits Academy and Pride Stalker especially just played incredibly well. Great macro play, taking towers when they needed to, taking fights when they needed to. They close out the game.
Jisoo's like, I don't need a break. I'm staying in the chair. Start game 2 now. Let's go. He's on a roll. Misfits Academy looking great in that game. It was a slow pace to it in the sense that Misfits Academy clearly not wanting to make a mistake with that lead, but a couple of Barons under them, they get the inhibitor down eventually, and from there get Schalke into a fight. And that's what we were talking about, is like reaching 40 minutes didn't mean Schalke instantly won the fight. You still have to play it right. You can't afford to use Redemption early, but it did mean that we had a closer fight at the end of the game than you maybe would think.
But you have to think Misfits as well will be, like, in that moment, they'll be so emotional, they'll be saying, can we actually close this game? What can we do to beat Schalke now? Because they'll be saying, oh, Oriana's got 4 items, Caitlyn's got 4 items. How exactly do we win the game from here?
Well, you force QSS or the Mercurial Scimitar out of Caitlyn with Miasma.
Exactly.
And then end up
Just win the game.
Redemption gets used and Schalke can't survive through. So Schalke, they're going to have to really take this draft and go, okay, maybe we don't draft a mid-game, like, dipping lineup where we need to wait for 4 items on everything, because it used so much focus from the Rengar in the top half of the map that Misfits Academy just go, okay, we can just take down this tower and get our advantage.
Exactly, and you have to think as well, the draft has been such a great point for Schalke most of the time. This draft was weak from them, in all honesty. You can see what they were trying to do, but Schalke have never had a draft that falls off at a specific point of the game. They've always got something to make up for that before now. Here, they just didn't have that. It was all late game.
Yeah, exactly. I just feel like I like the Graves and then I like the Caitlyn or the Oriana. I think in separate drafts, that's actually fine. I don't have a problem with
someone
it.
who can, like, spike a little bit quicker. So give him someone like the Katarina or the Zed, someone with a bit more threat.
Yeah, I think even just Selfie on Oriana, I think is still fine. Like, when you say to me Selfie playing Oriana, I'm not like, ooh, no, that's not, don't go there. It's more just like showing that early and then not really banning out anything that follows through. I mean, the Ari ban, the Talia ban, I understand where you're going, but Kozku's going to play Cassiopeia now at scale.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll have game 2 between Misfits Academy and Schalke 04.
Welcome back. Hello, Jisoo.
Hi.
I love you so much.
The second one does. Here's the shockwave. Miasma comes down. Pride Stalker might go in. Kozku solo, but gets first blood. He's going to die to the... No, he's not. Oh, Kozku. Behind the tower now, Dreams puts the exhaust down onto Lulex, and he's going to be taken out once again. Misfits Academy are on fire.
Hey, Caitlyn no flash. Caitlyn no flash. Get those. I read
Now Schalke on the back foot, just trying to run away from Misfits, but the tank is in reverse gear. Now Schalke need to defend against 5 members of Misfits. One will fall as Yuki gets taken out by Selfie. Upset continues to chase, just cannot hold it back. Smitty J is dead. Misfits Academy's Dreams are still alive as they go 1-0 up in this series.